Hey, this is Stephen Ament. Welcome to my Exorcism.io series. In my last video, I worked through the raindrops exercise and got it to the first working version. And now what I would like to do is refactor this to something more maintainable or just get it to a better state. So let's see what we have here. I mean, this works. Everything is working. Everybody's happy. And by everybody, I mean our tests, which makes me happy. But there's a few things here that can be improved. First of all, we have these magic strings here in the text for what we're outputting, and these raw checks here that are it's just code that's happening. I don't really know what this is. It's probably something that can be named. So let's see, where should we start with this? Well, one place we could start I'm going to make a constant hash here called conversions to go from these from the numbers, the factors to the strings. And so get these strings out of there. Okay, this needs to be playing as a beginning. Let's just start with that. And actually, yeah, they're inside of the class. We'll just start with this. This is not where it's going to stay, but it's a slight improvement over where we were. We run into the same problem though on the right side here with these numbers, but we'll deal with that. I think we'll deal with that in a minute. So what do we want to do with the right hand side, these ifs right here? Well, we could name these. So in this case, what might this be? Well, we're really asking something like we want to output conversions 3 if if 3 is a factor, right? So how would we do that? So let's go ahead and add factor that takes a number. Okay, I've just run into a problem with this that makes me realize that I actually do want an object, an instance of an object here, because I want the signature of this method to be factor and then the number for which I'm checking. And I want to just know raindrop count. I want to know raindrop count. I don't want to have to pass it in, which right now is what I have to do. So let's do it so that we can get to green quickly. And then we're going to want to refactor this right on its heels. Let's just get this working. Okay, let's get these working as well. And then the third one. Okay, yeah, so that works. So I see another situation here in which I'm doing the same thing for each of the keys or each of the entries inside of my conversions array. So can I compact that? Can I do something here? I think I can. But let's save that. First, I want to go ahead, and the first thing I want to do here is I want to new up a new object with raindrop count. And call the instance method convert on that. And the first thing that I'm going to do with this is I'm just going to, let's go ahead and create our initialize that takes a raindrop count and saves it to an instance variable. I want an adder reader for that. And then my method convert, which I want below. I like to put my instance methods below my class methods. And it's going to do basically the gets of this. But in order to accomplish that, I'm going to need to move this, move factor down below to an instance method. And so now I don't need to pass in raindrop count. Okay, so we're still passing. And so this is still, I think it's an improvement. Having an object that actually does the work here, I think is an improvement. But what can we do here with our conversions? So we're prompted, not in the README itself, but if we jump back here, you can get little clues from the taggings, here as to what we're looking at. So this is tagged with conditionals, filtering, and strings. So filtering, what does filtering mean in this context? Well, let's take a look. If we look at the documentation for hash, we find that there actually is a method called filter. What does it do? Filter returns a new hash consisting of entries for which the block returns true. Okay, so it will give us back. It will remove any entries from our filter, and give us a new from our hash, and give us a new hash for only the entries that match the block, and we get the key and the value. So how can we use that here? Let's see. Let's kind of sketch this out here. So if I go over my conversions and I filter them, that is going to give me my key, and my value in this case are my factor and my conversion or output. And I don't care in this case about the output. What I want to know and what I want to check is factor a factor? And so what's this going to do? Well, this is going to leave me with only the elements pling, plang, or plong, the entries for those that match. And from that, I want the values, and I'm going to join them together. And this is what output is. All right, that works. Cool. So this is still an improvement. We learned something new about hash, how to use hash filter, and but there's still something a little funky about this. This is still sort of imperative code. I don't really like this being here. What I would prefer to see is output. So instead of setting this to a variable here, let's just give it a name. And so now what our convert instance method does is it checks, and if output is not empty, it returns output. Otherwise, it returns raindrop count to S. This is pretty good. I'm going to go ahead, I think, and submit this as a second version here. All right, but what I want to do, I want to do one more step. I like ternaries. I think they're fine. But what I really wish I could do is just say output or raindrop count to S. Something about that is just, it's just enough. It's clear enough to me what's happening to prefer this. But how can I do this? This doesn't work, right? Because even if it's empty, even if output is empty, it's still gonna return true, right? So this is not going to work. We're never going to get over to the right side because even if it's empty, it's join will always give us an empty string. So what can we do? Well, if we were in Rails, we could use the presence method on string. In Rails, the presence method will, if the value is not empty, the string is not empty, you'll get the string back. If the string is empty, you'll get nil. That's exactly the behavior we want. So what I'm going to do is this is a case where, it's like we could expect that Ruby code might be running in a Rails app, in which case we would have it. But here, our whole application is this file. So this is a situation in which I don't have too much problem with monkey patching. And so we're going to do it right here. We're going to define presence. And what presence is going to do is it's going to move that ternary that we had before right here. So if self is not empty, it's going to return self. Otherwise, nil. And actually, it doesn't even need to do that much, does it? Because if we return self unless self.empty, we'll get the same result. So I like this. I like output reading like this. Conversions filter for entries where factor is a factor. Convert to the values, join them together, and return either the string that's there or nil. And then factor in this case, raindrop count modulo number equals 0. That defines factor. Convert in this case will return output or raindrop count to string. And to me, this reads like the behavior. This is more explicit to me about what the behavior is that we're expecting to see here. And so our original class method, convert, news up an object and then calls convert on that object. And this is actually a pretty common pattern that you'll see where you have one of these convenience methods on a class that it may not be raindrops.convert. You'll often see it be like raindrops.call or raindrops.execute. Raindrops.convert is good too here. And internally, you'll see something like this. But to me, this is, even though it's a lot, you see a lot more lines of code here compared to our original example. But it feels, I guess, more modular, easier to understand, easier to maintain. Everything is named. I can read this better and understand what's going on. And yeah, I like this. So I'm going to submit this again. And I think this is going to be my final version. Let me go ahead and complete this solution. And choose the next exercise.